From spending time with Ash's mom to meeting up for fun times with Celebi, could Professor Oak from Kanto beat all of Pokemon Violet, using only Pokemon which he owned in the manga, anime, and video games? To make this a bit more fun, we also have these goals we've got to complete through our journey, and of course, to also make it harder, we gotta follow all of these rules. So, can we beat all of Paldea as Oak? Well, let's find out. I'm like 55 years old. Why am I reading and going to school again? This is ridiculous. Hello, trainer. Welcome to the Shut Up. You are not a professor. I don't care what you have to say. All right, now that we sorted out who the real professor is, it's about time we actually choose a starter Pokemon. And of course, since Oak offers this exact Pokemon in the anime, manga, and the games as well, we're going to be picking the overhyped lizard Charmander. Oak actually had a glitch battle in Red and Blue, which contained all the original starters as well as Tauros and Gyarados in his team, which is pretty crazy, so Charmander is our choice. All right, we go in and of course battle Nemona and her little weed cat, which we defeat with only a few embers, and it is really weak to us. Now that we're ready, I think it's time for the real Professor Oak to head out. Also, Mother, I deny any relations to you, but I will take your sandwich, because I'm evil. All right, now that we've headed out, I should ask, what is the best professor in all of Pokemon according to you guys? Personally, for me, it's got to be that chunky bearded fella Birch and his fear of Zigzagoons. But let me know in the comment section down below, what is the best professor? Oh wow, as a professor, I must say I'm quite intrigued by this giant metal chunk. We could make a religion out of this. Okay, it's time to battle Nemona again now that we are right outside Messagosa. However, we do lose this battle because we are not strong enough and we need bigger brains. Okay, now that we can actually ride around on this giant metal chunk, it's about time we go and get ourselves another teammate. So we're gonna head right outside of Messagosa to go and capture ourselves a Happiny. The reason we can do this is because in the Pokemon Adventures manga, Professor Oak actually uses a Chansey that is named Sage. So we're gonna take this Happiny, nickname it Sage, and add it to our squad. So now that we sorted that out, we gotta go and take on our first gym battle, which is going to be, of course, against KATY and her bug types. So after pushing a giant bean around for a little bit, it's time to actually battle her. Now, KATY, of course, uses bug type Pokemon, which means first out is going to be a Nimble. We go for the Ember, which is enough to take it down with 2 hits. However, she does have 2 more Pokemon. One of them is Tarantula, which hits us with Assurance, which does a lot of damage. However, after only 2 Embers, we're able to take it down. However, the last Pokemon is, of course, going to be the terrestrialized Teddy Urza. This thing, of course, is a bug type now, which means we can hit it. However, luckily, the Fury Swipe from it misses, so we're able to spam Ember 2 more times and survive and get our first gym badge. All right, now that we've done that and sorted things out, we actually now have to deal with the Stony Cliff Titan. However, first we're going to have to battle the Grass-type gym and catch Anch. Now, what is Anch? Well, it's actually a Stantler that Oak used in the Adventures manga as well. So, welcome to the squad, you Santa Claus-carrying bastard. And hey, look at that. Our buddy Charmander evolved into a Charmeleon. Okay, I think it's about time we took on Brassius now. So we make it over to Artisan, where we're gonna have to do some hunting for Sunfloras. Did you guys actually know that there is an evil version of Professor Oak that exists, which is the Imposter Oak? This was actually in the TCG, and hey, you know, I like it to be evil, man. So it's time to battle Brassius, who looks extremely evil, like he wants our soul. But that doesn't really matter, because his team's gonna be starting off with a Petililli, which we go for the Fire Fang against. We don't actually hit by the Sleep Powder, which is great, we avoid it. However, they still do have another Pokemon in here, which is of course going to be the little Smoliv. It's a 1-hit KO on our end. However, against the Sudowoodo, it is a little bit more of a struggle. Of course, this thing is now a grass type, but it doesn't change the fact that it's able to avoid our Fire Fang and destroy us with Trailblaze. Instead, Stantler comes out and we keep hitting stomps and we keep flinching him all the way to the end, where he actually does hit us with a Trailblaze, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't do enough damage to really warrant any worrying. So, a final stomp, and ladies and gentlemen, we've taken out the Sudowoodo, we've gotten ourselves our second gym badge in Paldea. Next up, though, we gotta go and deal, again, with the Stony Cliff Titan, which we didn't deal with before because I'm too lazy. Either way, here it is the Stony Cliff Titan. Now, this thing is actually relatively difficult to deal with for us because we don't have really strong Pokemon against it, but we keep spamming a bunch of Dragon Breaths mostly, just to make sure we get it. We even get it paralyzed at one point when it decides to just yeet itself out of existence. Either way, after eating a bunch of Herba Mystica, it's able to take down our team here. We're able to, again, just take it down mostly with the help of Anch, of course, with the Stomp, and from, of course, the Shelter as well, meaning we completed our first Titan battle. Now, you would think, okay, we've done that. We should be going on and taking on Bombardier, the giant Titan bird. However, we try to do it, and we get our ass handed to us, which means we need to add a new Pokemon to the squad. One of these Pokemon is going going to, of course, be Pikachu. Yes, Pikachu is a Pokemon that technically Professor Oak does own at multiple times through different Pokemon games and such, hence why he's going to be added to our squad. Now, we're going to be needing him, especially against the Open Sky Titan. This thing is partially flying type, which means we'll be able to do some thunder damage. First up, we go in with Charmeleon, which we get the burn with, which is literally the only thing that saves us, as Pikachu's Thunder Shocks don't really do a lot of damage, so the burn is able to do enough damage to chip it all the way down to the point where we can actually defeat it, which is exactly what we do. After it gets defeated the first time, we then get help from, of course, Arven to take it down. We use Stantler in this case, as Pikachu is already, I think, fallen, so Stantler goes out first. We mostly just spam Stomp here, and we get a bit of help from the Smackdowns coming in from, of course, Arven and his squad. Again, this battle ended up being easier because of the help of Arven, and Pikachu came in clutch as well with the Hypnosis from Stantler. So there it is. We've defeated another one of the Titans. This time, it was the Open Sky Titan with the help of Arven. I love the mushrooms. Not really. So, now that we've defeated that Titan, we can actually head down and take on our first battle against Team Star, against, of course, Giacomo. And that's exactly what we do. We go in, we defeat his grunts, but then we end up losing over and over and over again. We could not defeat him. I guess Professor Oak just did not have the cojones for this. So ladies and gentlemen, we have to do something about it. What we end up doing is basically going and deciding to head over to Cascarafa. Over here in the city, we pick up Muscle Band and give it to Charmeleon for his Fire Fang, just hoping it will do a bit more damage. But we also have this opportunity now to evolve Happiny into Chansey so that we can then head over to Levencia City, where we're going to find the Oval Stone. Now, the good thing about going to Levencia City is now we actually have a flying point here, so we can fly here later on. We gotta battle Iono. Either way though, now we fully evolved our Pokemon, and I think we should be ready to do it again. So, here it is, Giacomo. I am going to defeat you. And never mind, we actually lose again. So this isn't working, Sam. I think it's time we got that fella added to our team. You mean him? Yes, him. But before that, we make sure to, of course, evolve Sage into a Chansey. And so, even though we have Chansey, I'll still want to make sure he is in our squad. So we go over to Porto Marinada, and poof, there he is, Rotom. Now, as you may notice, it is kind of over-leveled right now, so we'll save him for the upcoming battle after this, when we can actually use him. Instead, we're now having a Chansey on our squad, which should be much stronger because of the increased stats in its defense, meaning we can probably survive a few hits from the Revavroom. So, it's finally time to battle Giacomo for real, and hopefully win this time. So, the battle starts off with us using Fire Fang from, of course, Chad to take down the Ponyard. The Ponyard does hit us with an Aerial Ace, which does a bit of damage, but it leaves us at just enough HP where we can at least do a little bit more damage still with, of course, our friend here. First up, we get hit by multiple Snarls and Screeches just to lower our defense, our attack, everything. And then we also just keep spamming Dragon Breath for the most part here. Eventually, though, Chad does fall, so we switch in Pikachu, and here we just try to do as much damage as humanly possible. This is through basically spamming a bunch of Thunder Shocks. We do this several times, and it does actually work out. We're able to survive for a while until eventually Pikachu falls. Now we're going to have to rely on our full team. Sage comes out, we go for the Disarming Voice, hopefully doing as much damage as we can, until Sage doesn't have much HP left anymore either, and faints, leaving us with really only one Pokemon, and that's going to be Stantler. We go for the Stomp, which does a lot of damage, and then we try to survive a Wicked Torque, which we do, leaving us at the perfect position to take out the giant Revavroom. And that means we've completed our first battle against a Team Star member, so that's now been sorted. Okay, alright, time to go and take on Iono in her city. However, we end up running into freaking Nemona. Nemona, this is neither the time nor the place for this right now. So, either way, we end up actually defeating her relatively easily with the help of just Charmeleon, and now it's time to actually battle Iono. So, of course, she uses electric-type Pokemon, and she's going to start off with Wattrel, a electric flying type in this case. Now, we go out with Chad and just go for Fire Fang right off the bat, which is perfect as we do get the burn. However, we do I think take an Aerial Ace or something along those lines, so we are a bit damaged. However, when the big boy Belly Bolt comes out, we try to do as much damage as possible with Fire Fang, which is a bit dumb because, of course, this thing's not going to be damaged by that whatsoever. So we try to go for Dragon Breaths instead, which do a lot of damage, but unfortunately, Chad does fall here. So we have to resort to the rest of our team. One of the Pokemon we have that's really useful is, of course, Stantler. So we pull him out and make sure that he does as much damage as possible with Stomp, which is enough eventually to take down the Belly Bolt. However, there is still the Luxio, and this fella does a lot of damage with that Spark. We keep just spamming Stomp here, hoping it's going to do enough damage, and then eventually we take down the Luxio, but there's still the biggest Pokemon and the most dangerous one, which is Miss Magius. So, Miss Magius is going to be terrestrialized into an electric type, which is what Yono does every single time, which is a little bit annoying, but nonetheless, though, we of course do the same thing again. We go for the Stomp, which luckily the first time actually makes him flinch, which is really necessary, because if we could just get a secondary hit in, it was enough to do basically enough damage to chip off the rest of the HP with the help of our remaining 2 Pokemon. In this case, we get Confuse Raid onto our Chansey, so we just use Disarming Voice little by little. Just we kept chopping it off little by little, leaving it at just enough HP for Pikachu to finish it up with a Thunder Shock, giving us another one of our gym badges, putting us one step closer to completing this journey as Oak. Now that we've done that, of course, we gotta do some other things. One of these things is to actually put Rotom on our team, and we also want to get Gyarados on our squad. How can we do this? Well, he actually has a Gyarados in his special secret team from Pokemon Red and Blue. So we're going to be adding Gyarados to the squad by capturing a Magikarp, evolving it easily straight away. And this is going to be necessary because we're about to battle Mela, who uses fire types. On our way to deal with Mela, we actually, well, it should mention something. Mela is a bit annoying, but did you guys know that the annoying Elite Four member Agatha was actually friends with Oak back in the day? In the original Pokemon introduction, where Nidoran fights a Gengar, it's actually based on the epic rivalry between Professor Oak and Agatha, which is really weird. And in one of my previous videos, where I played this fan game specifically about Oak's journey, Agatha is one of the main characters in it too, so feel free to check that one out after this. Either way, Mela of course uses fire types, so we're gonna have to use our full team here. First up is Torkoal. This thing is of course gonna hit us very hard with any fire type moves, but we decide to go straight away with the foul play, of course, from Rotom, which doesn't do a lot, so I decide let's just Confuse Raid instead, just to make sure we take as little damage as possible at the rest of our team, because realistically, Rotom's not going to stand the chance. We even got burnt at one point here, so we didn't really stand much of a chance with Rotom himself. Instead, we pull out Gyarados with the Brine, which takes down Torkoal. We did take a little bit of damage here, and I decide, okay, we're going to need Gyarados a bit later, so what I decide to do is go for one single hit, trying to just get that, you know, Hydro Pump off, or just really any water type move. But eventually I decide, okay, I'm going to switch him back out, okay? We need to get rid of him, and let's send in Sage instead. Sage is not going to be able to do a lot of work, except maybe use the move Charm, which will actually lower the attack, I think, on this the Shadow Starmobile. So if we can do that, at least we can lower the output of damage that might be coming our way, which is exactly what we managed to do here. We take a few hits, Sage does suffer, I'm sorry, but it does kind of work out in our favor, as we then send out Charmeleon, who's able to do quite a bit of damage with Dragon Breath. We just spam it multiple times. Unfortunately, we can't seem to get paralysis. That's just impossible. So we don't get that. Instead, we just do end up speed boosting this thing to infinity. But when we finally do a little bit more damage with Dragon Breath, we've pushed it to that point now where we should be able to actually defeat it. So Gyarados comes out and we go for Brine, which does a ridiculous amount of damage. And luckily for us, the Overheat, I think here, actually misses. So when he tries to go for Overheat, it doesn't even hit. It actually is able to be avoided by us. And so when the Brine finally hits, ladies and gentlemen, we defeat Mela. We've taken down her Revavroom, and we've actually gotten ourselves another victory with one of the Evil Star team members. So we've taken down the second one. There's still 3 to go. But fear not, the next one is going to be the giant metal hunk that is the Lurking Steel Titan. Of course, that's going to be Orthworm. Now, luckily for us, he doesn't really stand much against the fiery, burning passion of our Charmeleon. So we take him down easily with just a bunch of Fire Fang. Eventually, with the help of Arven, we're able to defeat him, and he can't survive on just eating Herba Mystica. I've got to be honest though with you, Arven, you seem to be a little bit too addicted to a bunch of weird plants and weeds. I'm just saying, I mean, hey, it's a bit sus. Nonetheless though, now we're going to be going over to Cascarafa. Here we're going to be dealing, of course, with Kofu, who uses water types, which luckily we have, well, why is he running away? What's going on right here? Oh, well, either way. So, I'm Professor Oak. Nice to meet you. Did you guys actually know that Professor Oak is actually the guy who has the most knowledge about legendary Pokemon in the whole Pokemon universe? I mean, he literally is the person who gives you the letter you need for Shaman and even tells you about Naval Rock. So, yeah, he's kind of a crazy old man. Maybe he knows more than the rest of us know. We rush over to Kofu to try to help him out by giving him back his wallet. However, his little boyfriend is blocking us. Hey, I'm just trying to help out. No, you can't. Unfortunately for Hugo here, our Pikachu's massive cheeks destroy him in no time. Speaking of his massive cheeks, leave one like down below for one cheek slap on Pikachu. Alright, Unibrow man, it's time to battle. So, Kofu of course uses water types. First up we go for the Foul Play, which pretty much destroys him. As for the Wiglet though, we try to do the same thing by just spamming Foul Plays and Electro Balls, which eventually take him down. The crowd comes out and of course he does his Sailor Moon transformation to turn it into a terrestrialized water type, which destroys 3 of our Pokemon. Eventually though, we do use Gyarados with Crunch and take him down, giving us another Gym Badge victory against the Unibrow man. Now we're gonna go deal with the Poison Boys over here, but the problem is we don't really stand much of a chance. We actually end up losing every single attempt that we try to make. So we have to do something else, which is go to the Asado Desert, battle 5 different annoying trainers, they all are way too old to be doing this, and then get our hands on Earthquake TM from this guy. Either way, it's time to take on Atticus and his Poison-type team. First up, it's going to be this guy sucker punching us, but fear not, we have the Fire on our side, so we're able to take down the Skuntank. However, we can't really do much without Stantler, because his Earthquake is going to be our main tool here. 2 Earthquakes take down the giant Cum Monster, and next up, it's going to be, of course, the Navi Starmobile. This thing is really difficult, so we take out Gyarados with the Intimidate, which lowers its attack. After that, it's mostly just spamming Aqua Tail, hoping it's enough to take it down. Unfortunately, we have to rely on Rotom with the Shockwave to finish off Atticus and get ourselves another victory. We are still missing a few gym badges, so we head over to Medali City, where we're going to be taking on the Larry Challenge. First up, though, we evolve Charmeleon into the Big Lizard, which I love because he's the biggest and best lizard. And then, of course, we run into Larry, who's probably the most depressed character in all of Pokemon. Alright, now it's time for the comatose freaking koala all the way from Australia. We hit it, of course, with some fire, and this chicken nugget doesn't really stand much of a chance. However, it does put us to sleep when it sends out Dun Sparks. This thing is just a giant schlong, if I'm gonna be honest. We get hit by the Hyper Drill, Mega Drill, Drill Run, whatever you want to call it, and it does a lot of damage. However, Chad comes through with the ultimate fire, but it is not enough. So, well, we're gonna have to just die. That's just all that happens to our poor little Charizard. The little man can't handle it. Either way, though, we do have our Rotom with Foul Play, which comes out and does all the damage. And once we've done this, though, there's only one Pokemon left to deal with. It is Staraptor, which comes in. But, guys, they're offering free nuggets. Oh, shit. Okay, guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to win this battle because they're offering free nuggets if you cheer for Larry. But it doesn't really matter. He hits us with the Aerial Ace, but we've got the Shockwave, which we keep spamming over and over again, and eventually we take down the Staraptor, which means we've defeated Larry, the big Chad himself, the most depressed man in all of Pokemon. I mean, hey man, I understand your feelings, but don't fear it. Either way, though, all of a sudden, the Octopus Lady shows up and decides to tell us that she wants us to battle Nemona. I'm not in the mood for it, so I end up losing this battle because, well, what am I supposed to do against this, well, flower-tricking weird weed cat? I mean, what do you expect? Either way, now it's time to go up to Glaciado Mountain, filled with most spooky of all Pokemon, so it's going to be ghost types. Either way, this place looks very nice, reminds me of the Alps. And hey, look, it's Shaggy. How about you tell me where the real gym leader is, Shaggy? I don't want to deal with you. Alright, it's time to take on Rhyme, who of course is a trainer that uses mainly ghost type Pokemon. It is a double battle, so I decide to go with Charizard and Gyarados up first. We take down the Disguise on the Mimikyu, which is going to be annoying, and Crunch onto the Banette. All of our stats are actually boosted here, which is great, as our Flamethrower does enough damage to take down Banette, and a single Crunch takes down the Mimikyu. Next up, though, the Houndstone gets hit by a nice, I think, Crunch here, but it goes into Phantom Force, leaving us now to deal with the Toxtricity, which actually a Flamethrower and a single Crunch is able to defeat, meaning there's only really the Houndstone, which really just needs one more Flamethrower, and we've taken down Rhyme, who was relatively easy to actually defeat. So, now that we have that gym badge, what's next? Well, hey, Hassel, what's up? I don't really want to deal with you, I'm gonna be honest with you, buddy. You're kind of ugly, so I'm just gonna move on. Either way, we go to the West Province, where we're gonna find the Quaking Earth Titan. This big fella, well, he is a ground steel type, so we're not gonna struggle too much when we hit him with the flaming power of our Charizard, as a singular hit is pretty much enough to destroy him. However, we still need to fight him one more time, and hey, why'd you run away? Well, I'm gonna get help from Arvin this time, so it's gonna be even easier, as we defeat the Iron Treads, and now we can get even more weeds to use for our Pokemon. Thank you, Arvin. Either way, now it's time to head over to specifically the Psychic-type gym. This place, though, is, oh my lord, it's Nemona again. Alright, well, she wants to battle, so we go right in for it. We go in with the Hydro Pump, blasting the life out of the Lycanroc, but it's unfortunately not enough, and then we try to Earthquake onto her Palmot, which does take it down after 2 hits. However, our poor Stantler doesn't stand a chance against the giant Goomy, Sloogie, Bloogie, whatever you want to call it, Scarlet. However, the giant Chansey comes out, and disarming voice being spammed multiple times ends up actually working. But the giant Weed Cat, it's still a problem, and just using Flower Trick over and over again, it's able to take down our fellas. So Rotom takes a lot of damage. We try to go for the foul play, but it doesn't really do a lot of damage. If we had hit it maybe 3 or 4 times like that, we could have won. However, Pikachu doesn't stand a chance to a single Flower Trick as it goes down and gets totally demolished. So yeah, congratulations. Good job. Well done. Oh my lord. Either way, let's do some goofy dancing. After doing the goofy dancing, it's time to take on Tulip, who of course is going to have herself a team of just a bunch of Psychic-type Pokemon, but fear not, we have the power of Flamethrowers from Charizard, which does a lot of damage, man, as the Faragirif goes in with the Zen Headbutt, which unfortunately doesn't really go in our favor. So Rotom comes out and starts blasting a bunch of freaking, just starts shooting off all of these freaking foul plays. Unfortunately though, it's not enough to take down the Espathra, so the Earthquake is what we need. We do another Earthquake against the Gardevoir, but the Psychic is too strong, and our poor little deer actually goes down. However, Pikachu does have Iron Tail, which is a one-hit kill on that one, which is perfect. However, there's still one more Pokemon. It's going to be the massive Florges. This giant flower pot-looking Pokemon is basically a Psychic type now. So one hit from the Iron Tail does lower its defense, which is great, as we do only really have Gyarados left now. So with Gyarados, we actually, I guess, decide just go for the Crunch because it makes the most amount of sense. It does the most amount of damage. However, though, we don't get the one-hit kill here. Instead, we have to hit it one more time. Luckily, even though it outspeeds us, we survive the Moonblast, and we take down the penultimate gym, and we finally defeat Tulip, which is great. And also, all of a sudden, these Girl Scouts are trying to sell me cookies. I don't really like Scout cookies, okay? So just leave me alone. Either way, we actually go out and try to hunt for a Eevee, as that's a Pokemon that Oak actually owns, but I do not get any luck. So yeah, let's just go up to Glaciado Mountain instead, as we're gonna go and do a little bit of, I guess, snowboarding, ladies and gentlemen, before we take on none else than Grusha, the final gym leader in Scarlet and Violet. However, we do have the advantage by having Chad, who can use Flamethrower, which takes down the Frostmoth in a single hit. However, for the big fella Titan, we get really lucky that we get the burn on it after 2 Flamethrowers, which means we will survive one more Ice Spinner, and then eventually it's going to fall to that burn, and we get ourselves another win there. However, the next Pokemon is Beartic, and this thing Aqua Jets us, which means it has priority, and it takes us down. So Pikachu comes out, but he doesn't survive the giant Earthquake, poor little guy. However, Stantler does have a few moves like Earthquake, which will come in handy, and of course also Stomp, which is exactly what we use to make him flinch 2 times in a row and get ourselves the victory. The last Pokemon is going to be Altaria. We start off with 1 Stomp here in the beginning just to make sure we can get that flinch, which is exactly what we do. We actually do make it flinch, so we can hit a second time, but unfortunately it does have Hurricane, which means we're going to be going all the way down to the bottom. However, do not fear, the little deer may not have the power, but Gyarados does have Crunch, so we go in and do as much damage as possible. We even lower its defense at one point here, so the Crunch can pretty much destroy her. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We defeated Grusha. He didn't stand a chance against us. That means we've gotten all the gym badges, and we can continue our journey. However, it looks like these guys just want to force me to do the Elite Four. I don't want to do it just yet. Leave me alone. Either way, we're going to go there eventually. Now we're going to head over and defeat the Starfall Street, which is of course going to be with Ortega. So we jump around a few mountains, run into, well, of course, Clavel as per usual, who still looks sketchy, but that's none of our business. We're going to be dealing with this old man, beating him up, and then of course beating up all the little Pokemon hidden inside of here, as Ortega is going to be, well, kind of annoying. He does use Fairy-type Pokemon, starting things off with the Azumarill, so I go directly for Rotom, as we will have the type advantage, with the Shockwave doing a ridiculous amount of damage, being able to take it down in about 2 hits. However, next up is going to be Dashboon, which is, honestly, such a weird-looking dog. It's literally a piece of bread, but that's besides the point. Again, we go for the Shadow Balls here, hoping we do enough damage. Unfortunately, it's not enough, so Pikachu comes in and finishes things up with the Iron Tail, which is enough to take down Dashboon. Look at that little boy. Either way, after doing that, we also have to deal with Wigglytuff, which hits us with a Play Rough, which totally demolishes our poor little boy, but fear not, Pikachu is dead for now. He will return later. Earthquake is able to take down the Wigglytuff, which is great, as we now just have to deal with only a few more Pokemon, which is in this case going to be Revavroom. As for this big fella, well, he does come with some trouble, okay? He is pretty hard to defeat. Our little friend here, Stantler, doesn't really stand much of a chance, so instead Gyarados has to come out and do a lot of the work, with the Dragon Dance coming through and being able to boost our, I guess, attack and speed for a little bit, which doesn't really matter. We're able to do a few crunches, and then we have to rely on Sage, of course, our Chansey, to do most of the other work, with, of course, Chad finishing things up with a Flamethrower. So we've defeated Ortega, which means there is only one more person we need to defeat from the Starfall's crew, and then we'll be done with them. But we do also run into Penny, and it looks like our giant metal chunk wants to sniff her or something. Oh no, what's up? Okay, after that, it's time to go and deal with the next situation, which of course is going to take us all the way to the KATY Lake. We're going to deal with the False Dragon Titan. This of course starts with the little sushi, but then we have to deal with the big boy, which, well, guess what? We do have the advantage here. We do have a lot of electric type moves. We have both Pikachu and Rotom on the squad, which is honestly fantastic, as we're able to do most of the damage with just those two guys. So we then follow the giant chunk as he goes all the way to his cave, and here we get help from Arvin to defeat him, which is really easy to be honest. However, there is also the mini sushi version, which is a little bit harder, but again, we do have the advantage of having our squad here ready to rumble, and with the crunch, we finish him off. We then get our hands on the final piece of weed, which is great, because it just makes Arvin happy. But fear not, we also do get something pretty awesome, which is Dratini. Yes, it is actually possible to get him, because guess what? In the Pokemon, I guess, anime, Professor Oak actually has a Dragonite. It is a confirmed fact. He does have one, so we add it to our squad. We're not going to be using it in the beginning, I'll be honest. There's a few Pokemon we're going to be catching, and that we do catch, that we don't end up actually using that much. Instead, we go over to Eri, who's of course going to be the final crew member, actually the final person we have to battle in the general story, and she has, of course, fighting types. We start off with an Air Slash against the Toxic Rogue, which is fantastic, on top of the fact that it actually flinches after doing a ton of damage. Then we finish off the Toxic Rogue. However, there is still a few more Pokemon. We have also Passimian. Same thing here. We're able to flinch it again, and then finish it up with another Air Slash. This battle is, I'm going to be honest, pretty much a sweep. We're able to go for just flamethrowers, Air Slashes, and finish up most of the squad. Same here thing going for the Lucario, who gets taken down by a single flamethrower. As for the big chunky monkey, guess what? Same thing here. We're able to just destroy this fella with Air Slashes. We go for the first one, which flinches him, and we decide, okay, well, let's pop off another one, which we do, which is fantastic as the fella goes down pretty easily. Next up, though, is going to be, of course, Revavroom, the Calf Starmobile. This thing is, of course, going to be partially fighting type, but fear not, again, the Air Slashes are just perfect, and that's all we need to take down Eri, and that means we're done with the base story of Stormfall Street, which means now we just have to deal with all the big bosses, so to say, themselves, which is exactly what we're going to do. After finishing things up, we fly back to the city of Mesagosa, where, of course, we're going to go and deal with the Elite Four. Now, I'm going to be honest, the Elite Four were quite a handful. Well, I'm going to be honest, this test is also really annoying, but that's besides the point. We go in, and it's time to battle our first battle, which is going to be against Rika. Rika starts off with a Whiscash. We go for the Earthquake from Stantler. I'm going to be real with you guys. I didn't really go prepared into this battle. I didn't really think of what my plan was. The Double Edge doesn't do that. I mean, it does damage, but it's not really the best. However, we do outspeed, which is fantastic. And then for the big fella here, we just go for Earthquake, which does a lot of damage. However, the Fire Blast totally demolishes us. So we go in with the Hydro Pump. The reason for that, of course, is the type advantage. And we then just spam Hydro Pump against most of the team here as we're able to take him down. Lucky for us, though, we do end up hitting the Hydro Pumps because remember, it is a low accuracy move, leaving us only with the giant Clodsire to deal with. And this big fella, well, he's a bit annoying, okay? We're not really able to take him down with the use of Gyarados. We have to switch out. We get Toxic onto our Rotom, but we're able to spam Shadow Balls and eventually defeat Rika, which leaves us now with 3 more challenges in the Elite Four. Next up is going to be, well, this little fella right here. It's going to be Poppy. Now, Poppy uses specifically Steel-type Pokemon, so having Charizard out first with the Flamethrowers is perfect. We also go for Inferno against the Magneton, which I was hoping was going to be enough damage, but unfortunately it wasn't. Luckily, he goes for, or she goes actually for a wall there for whatever reason, which wasn't really that necessary. We go Flamethrower against the Corviknight, which doesn't do barely anything. The Brave Bird comes through and actually does a lot of damage, but we just go for another Flamethrower, which, again, it survives. So we get Brave Birded for a second time, which does defeat our Charizard, which is a little bit worrisome, but we do have Gyarados, so we Dragon Dance up as we want to make sure our attack is on the highest possible level before we go in and just spam a bunch of crunches, taking down the Bronzong. But that leaves us still with, of course, the Tinkaton. And this thing, well, it's a pretty big wall of, I guess, steel to deal with. But we go for Stantler with the Earthquake, which is able to defeat it, meaning we've defeated 2 of the Elite Four members, but next up is going to be everybody's favorite, Larry. I freaking love this man. He looks depressed all the time, which is how most of us feel. Either way, out first is going to be the Flamethrower against his Tropius, which of course we do have the type advantage, and he goes with Sunny Day, which is actually kind of good for us, I guess. It kind of comes in handy for us, I'm not even gonna lie. But fear not, we go for the Flamethrower again, destroy that thing. Next up is Staraptor, which we've already defeated once before, so we just do the same thing here. Rotom is able to take him down. I don't know if I think I actually switched out Charizard here just to save him for the end, but then it's mostly just spamming Dark Pulses and Dazzling Gleams from Sage here to take down the Altaria, leaving us now with this Oricorio. And I'm going to be real, Oricorio's Revelation Dance just destroys most of our team. So we go in with Stantler and finish things up with a hit, leaving us, of course, with Flamigo as the last Pokemon. Zen Headbutt is able to do a lot of damage, and luckily we also get like multiple flinches. This whole battle was just flinch, 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 flinch. I don't even understand how we got that lucky, but we took down Larry, which means there's one more Elite Four member who has the weirdest walk, man. He looks like he's pissed himself all the time when he walks, but it is Hassel, ladies and gentlemen. He starts things off with Noivern, and this is honestly the hardest battle in the whole game. We decide to actually go in with specifically Gyarados to lower its attack, and then switch into our Chansey, and what we do is non-stop spam Soft Boil to heal ourselves up, and then spam Dazzling Gleam to slowly take it down. Luckily for us, our Chansey is just a special defense wall, so it doesn't get taken down by those moves. In this case, we are able to survive. However, Dragalge comes out next, and we do the same thing here. It's mostly just spamming Dazzling Gleam and just going for Soft Boiled, just trying to survive as long as possible and do as much chip damage as we can, because this thing I don't think has any way of healing itself, so that's good for us. Earthquake, though, from Stantler is able to take down the Dragalge, leaving us now with only 3 more Pokemon to deal with. First up is going to be the Applin, or Flaplin, or whatever you want to call it. This thing is able to use Dragon Rush and do a lot of damage, plus it has Leech Seed, so it can keep sapping away HP, but we have Charizard with the Air Slash, which takes it down, leaving us with 2 more Pokemon. One of them is going to be Haxorus. Here, we actually avoid the Rock Tomb, which is exactly what we needed. We literally needed that, and we're able to hit the second Dragon Breath, leaving us now with only Baxcalibur. I'm going to be real. We lost this battle every time because of the Haxorus being able to just, like, lower our HP down enough that we couldn't actually defeat the Baxcalibur. But fear not, this time we're able to do it. Basically, Charizard's already done a bit of damage. Pikachu comes in with the Iron Tail just to do enough damage where its defense is going to be lowered, and we're going to be able to finish it off with our final Pokemon, which is going to be Gyarados. Intimidate first up is going to be happening. We go for the Ice Fang, and boom, we defeated Hassel, which means we only have 1 challenge left to go. We defeated the Elite Four, but we still have to deal with the champion. And what's that going to be? Well, you guys already know who the champion is. It is the Octopus Lady, Geta. Now, I don't really know what the deal is with her hair. It looks like an octopus, but it's besides the point. First up is going to be Espathra. We go for the Dragon Dance, which because of Opportunist, the ability, Espathra actually has a boost in speed and damage as well. But after a few crunches, it is down. King Gambit comes out next, and well, this thing is, it's a wall, man. It's really difficult to deal with. It takes us down with a Stone Edge, and then we just have to deal on Chad with the Flamethrower to take him down. And honestly, Chad was really necessary, so you switch him out here. Just one thing in Pokemon is you really should switch out all the time. If you have the opportunity, do it. Otherwise, you're just going to lose battle. So we switch out specifically into Pikachu, just so Pikachu can take the hit and actually just be like a fall guy. And then we use Rotom to finish him up, the Veluza. Then we have to deal with the Avalugg. Here, it's just a Flamethrower from, of course, Chad. And same thing for the Go-Goat. It's just Flamethrower. And lucky for us, he goes for Bulk Up instead of an actual attacking move, which is good, because then that means we can just finish things up with this Go-Goat. Now that we finish that up, though, there is, of course, one last Pokemon to deal with. It's going to be Glimora. We go for the Dragon Breath. Doesn't really do that much. The Sludge Wave comes through and does a lot of damage. But again, like I said, we do have the rest of our team pretty much ready to go, because a lot of our teammates actually survived. So we go in with, well, guess what? Stantler goes for the Earthquake, and ladies and gentlemen, we've defeated the Elite Four and taken down Geta, which means we've completed another part of our journey. However, of course, the most annoying character in all Pokemon, freaking Nimona, shows up and wants to battle us. But first, we're going to go get our hands on Mew. Yes, you can actually get one right now in Pokemon using the Mystery Gift feature, which we are going to do. And then we're also going to go and capture ourselves a Growlithe, and also capture ourselves another Pokemon, which is going to, in this case, be specifically Tauros. Now, why are we capturing these? Well, Growlithe is actually a Pokemon that Oak does use, again, in the Pokemon, I think, the glitch battle from Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Green. And also, on top of that, Tauros is another Pokemon he actually uses in that glitch battle as well. So we just decided to capture him just to finish our, I guess, Professor Oak Pokédex and finish that journey. Next up, though, is going to be Arven. Here is mostly just being lucky and spamming through with a lot of our, like, hard-hitting moves. Earthquake takes down the Garganical against the Toedscruel. This thing is able to avoid our attack and then hits us with an Earth Power, which takes Stantler down. But like I said, Chad is here to do most of the work. So Chad comes out with the Flamethrower, takes down the Toedscruel almost in one hit, but luckily we do get the burn, which is able to then take him out after it actually burns him to death. Then there is Cloyster. Here it's just going for the Flamethrower, hoping it does enough damage, which it does with a singular hit being able to take it down. Scovillain is up next, which is actually a really cool Pokemon. It's a fire grass type, which is really sick. And also it looks like 2 bell peppers, but that's besides the point. Either way, next up, of course, is going to be Mabustiff. This thing is a dark type. We go for the Flamethrower, which does a decent chunk of damage, but it's not enough, so we have to finish things off with Rotom with the Shockwave, which takes him down. And that means we defeated Arven and finished the Path of Legend. So that's another one of our journeys that's been fully completed now, leaving us with 2 more journeys that need to be sorted out too. First up, wow, I didn't know you were actually Clavel. Well, that's crazy. But either way, first up is going to be his giant monkey, which we defeat with a Dragon Dance and a Crunch, which is exactly what we needed. Next up, we actually get put to sleep from the yawn from the big monkey, but we then use the Hydro Pump to take down Houndoom, of course, because we have the type advantage. A Bomber Snow comes through, use the Wood Hammer, which chunks us down to nothing. Chad comes out with the Flamethrower, finishes up the Bomber Snow. There is still snow, which is a bit of a problem, because that means we'll do generally less damage. However, the Poltergeist, we're able to hit it with the Flamethrower, and we're able to burn it, which I think as a opportunity. He goes for Shell Smash. I decide, okay, we're going to switch out. We're going to switch somebody else in. Like, for example, we do have, Pikachu, we have stuff like that we can use. So we're going to switch somebody else in. So we go in for Sage. The reason I did this is because it's already burned, which means it's going to die as soon as he uses one move, which is exactly what happens. Then we go for the Hyper Beam against Amoonguss, which doesn't really do a lot. It has Giga Drain, so we're able to be defeated from that. Chad comes in instead and goes for the Flamethrower, which demolishes the Amoonguss. That leaves us with only really one more Pokemon, which is going to be the most sketchy dancing looking Pokemon, Quaquaval. I don't really like the way this thing dances. It makes me kind of freak out, but that's besides the point. The Air Slash is enough to defeat it, and ladies and gentlemen, we've taken down Clavel. However, there is still one person to deal with, and oh my god, did you guys know that Penny was Cassiopeia the whole time? I mean, we kind of already knew, but that's besides the point. This battle is honestly relatively easy compared to what I thought it was going to be. We just go for a Dragon Dance at the beginning here. Actually, I think we used like 3 Dragon Dances on our Gyarados to set up as much damage as humanly possible, and after that, we just went straight away for the Ice Fang, which did a lot of damage, and a second one was able to destroy. However, against the Jolteon, a single Crunch is needed, but Leafeon does have quick attack, so it takes us down. Charizard then comes through, Chad comes through and just destroys everything with a few Flamethrowers. We make sure to switch him out into Pikachu and just sacrifice Pikachu so that Rotom can come out with the Shockwave to take down Vaporeon. We do get hit by Baby Doll Eyes, which doesn't really matter that much, as we're still able to take Vaporeon out. Flareon gets hit by, I think, 2 foul plays before it gets taken down, which is great, as that's all we really needed, leaving us with one more Pokemon, that being Sylveon. It hits us with a Shadow Ball, so we go for the pretty much same thing. We just decide, hey, if you're going to Shadow Ball us, we're going to Shadow Ball you, baby. So that's exactly what we do. We do a ton of damage from that, though, which is great, but it's not enough. So a Flare Blitz from, of course, Chad is going to be enough. And that, ladies and gentlemen, means we've completed another one of our journeys, the one of specifically the Starfall Street, which means that's been completed and done, leaving us, of course, with one more journey, and that's going to be the one against Nemona. She has been a pain in our ass, but fear not. Gyarados comes out. We go again for the Dragon Dance to set ourselves up. The Stealth Rocks come through, but I decide, you know what? I'm going to go for 2 Dragon Dances. The reason for this is because we can survive one hit from the, Accel Rocks here, and then we can just go for Waterfall. I switched out my Hydro Pump for Waterfall just because it has higher accuracy, and it is a physical attacking move, and I think Gyarados has higher physical attack, so that's why. The Hyper Drill destroys us, but then it comes down to our Stantler. We go for Calm Mind, which didn't really make any sense. I shouldn't have done that because I have no moves that actually benefit from it. Instead, Dragonite comes out because, yes, we did level up the Dratini and decide to use it. We're able to take down one Pokemon, that being the Dunsparce, but then we mostly use Sage and just spam. I really mean spam Dazzling Gleam and Soft Boil. That's literally all that Sage has been doing this whole journey, and just spamming those 2 moves until we eventually take somebody down. So Soft Ball comes through again, and then we just go for a final move and defeat it. Ortworm is actually really annoying. It does have an ability which makes it so we can't hit it with like Earthquake and stuff, hence why I didn't use Stantler for it or didn't save it for it. Instead, we just rely on the Shockwaves. Chad comes through with the Flare Blitz, which takes down Meowscarada in a singular hit, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we've taken down Nemona for the final time. I don't have to deal with her, and we completed the Victory Road. But that doesn't mean we are done with our journey just yet. We still have to go and deal with Area 0. So we speed our way down this place. There's a lot of just annoying stuff to deal with. A lot of annoying Pokemon, like this Glamora, as well as the sketchy looking little if you know you really want to call him, little Santa Claus looking Delibird. We deal with him, of course, and then we take it all the way down to the bottom where we're waiting to deal with Turo, the professor, who I think is not as good of a professor as me. I just think I'm superior, but that's besides the point. Turo starts off, of course, with the Iron Moth. We go for Earthquake, which takes it down. Then it's a Send Headbutt against the Iron Hands, which we do twice, but that's not enough to defeat him. He goes for the Drain Punch. So we go into Dragonite and go for the Dragon Dance just so we can actually do more damage. So once the Dragon Rush actually hits, Ice. It does do a lot of that work. Next up though, the Freezy Dry destroys Dragonite, and we go into Rotom for the Shockwave, which destroys the Iron Bundle after 2 hits. However, the Giant Iron Thorns, it doesn't really take that much damage from the Shadow Balls, just enough where we can actually lower it a bit. Gyarados comes through next. We go for the Waterfall, which destroys Iron Thorns. Iron Jugulis, this one is just destroyed with 2 Ice Fangs, leaving us with only Iron Valiant left to deal with. Here we go for 1 Ice Fang before we end up actually losing our boy, and the Psycho Cut destroys us, and same thing goes for Sage, leaving us with only Charizard. So we can outspeed here and hit. I think we have a chance. We go for the Air Slash. A singular hit is enough, and ladies and gentlemen, we defeated Turo, and we have proved that we are the best professor in all of Pokemon. And that also means we completed our journey. Thank you for watching.